This should be the battlefield where the entire server receives the most attention. There are TO1 and UN from server 14 who are recognized strong alliances, MAS and MAS who are the most powerful alliances in server 19, G27 of server 27 who was invincible in server 25 to server 30, the well-known alliance HBR from server 12, the very active alliance CFW from server 21 and top from server 22 who has very strong combat effectiveness. Server 14 and server 19 had many wars of words before the battle started, which led to a high degree of attention on this battlefield. Before the start of the battle, both alliances had many high-level players transferred from other servers, and we can see that they were fully prepared. The grouping situation before the battle. There was no fighting in the first 3 days of the Cairo theater of conquest, and everyone hid in their own protected areas to develop. When the outer ring contention area is open, a 1 versus 1 situation will be formed between the various alliances. This setting avoids the interference of ally support and can have a very intuitive judgment on the strength of individual alliance. According to the map, TO1 versus MAS, UN versus HBR, G27 versus TOP, CFW versus MAS. Northeast Battlefield, TO1 vs MAS. At the beginning, both armies began to organize assault groups to press forward at the entrance of the other side. Interpretation: pressing forward is the current strategy of most strong alliances. On the one hand, it can compress the opponent's advance area, reduce the possibility of the opponent's other tactics, and grasp the initiative of the battlefield in their own hands. At the same time, it will boost the morale of its own members. Both of them meet in the middle of the battlefield, and the advancing bases were deployed in the middle, forming a confrontational situation. The two armies used the cover of their own bases to fight, and the scene froze for a while. After more than an hour, TO1's strength was revealed. A group of armies flanked from the right side broke through the defensive line of the MAS's base, and the follow-up territory construction also kept up with it, suppressing the battlefield to the intersection of Massachusetts. MAS took a strict defense at the intersection. Both sides also noticed the small road on the right side of the battlefield and formed the standoff of bases. This shows that both sides have high military literacy, and they did not miss any opportunity on the battlefield map. After that, both sides organized several attacks and defenses. TO1 finally found a gap and organized a powerful attack on the small intersection on the right and destroyed the entire position of Massachusetts. Afterwards, MAS still showed their tenacious will to fight and organized counterattacks from time to time, but still helpless, and TO1 occupied the northeast battlefield. Northwest Battlefield CFW versus MAS. MAS also pressed forward at the beginning, and CFW used the traditional method to establish territory and gradually advanced. MAS's raid had a very good effect. MAS's high combat effectiveness troops have a great advantage over CFW, and a large number of bases are directly pressed at the entrance of CFW. CFW was very tenacious, relying on map buildings to resist all the time, but after the first wave was defeated, CFW could not organize an army that could fight against the main force of MAS, and could only watch MAS push forward. MAS occupied the northwest battlefield. Southwest Battlefield G27 vs TOP. G27 also pressed forward, and this is the most disparity confrontation. G27's combat effectiveness and organizational power are very scary. After quickly destroying #TOP's troops, G27 even directly established its headquarters in front of #TOP's LVL-2 fort. Before the protection time expired, G27 already burned the LVL-2 fort. G27 won the Southwest Battlefield. Southeast Battlefield UN versus HBR. We can see from the beginning that there are very few people in UN, and both sides were traditionally establishing territories at the beginning and moving forward step by step. UN organized the army and base to press forward, and after fight for a while, they were pushed back by HBR. HBR might have sensed the advantage on the battlefield, and directly put the base at the military laboratory, while UN was still gradually building the territory, and the rhythm of this battlefield is very slow. After HBR's large forces assembled, they pushed forward to the edge of UN's territory. Although UN organized several counterattacks, there was an obvious gap in the number of active players and they could only watch HBR advance. HBR won the Southeast battlefield. The first round of contact is over. It seems that the overall strength of Group A and Group B is relatively average. The performance of G27 is eye-catching. Well, let's look forward to the performance of all alliances after the opening of the middle ring.